This is BAWLER. Hello, I have prepared an important and interesting video for you. Subscribe and write in the comments what you think about it. At exactly 0940 hours, 500 feet above the seemingly endless expanse of the Pacific Ocean, a massive C-17 Globemaster transport aircraft cut through the air, its 4 turbofan engines roaring as the pilot peered down toward the waves. Far below, in that immeasurable blue, somewhere ahead, lay his target, a 560-foot-long nuclear submarine, its immense black steel hull barely visible against the restless surface of the sea. From this altitude and distance, the vessel looked like nothing more than a faint pencil line drawn upon the ocean's canvas, an ocean that stretched to the horizon in every direction and was as vast in scale as the territory of Russia itself. The pilot had exactly one opportunity to accomplish something never before attempted in the history of military operations: to deliver a 50-pound directly to a moving submarine while piloting an aircraft that, at 412,000 pounds, responded to his inputs like a massive building caught in a violent windstorm. If he missed the target by as little as 50 meters, 3 years of relentless planning, countless hours of simulations, and millions of dollars in preparation would instantly collapse into failure. If he overshot and struck the submarine directly, it would mean explaining to Congress, the Pentagon, and Naval Command how he had accidentally bombed a $2.1 billion strategic nuclear asset, one of the most valuable components of America's nuclear deterrent. The margin for error in this moment was not small, it was absolute zero. The clock showed only 30 seconds remaining until the moment of truth. But the chain of events that led to this high-stakes moment had begun 6 hours earlier, at precisely 0530 hours on October 22, 2020, when a C-17 Globemaster lifted off from Hickam Air Force Base in Hawaii. On board was not just its crew, but an experimental package that could, if this test succeeded, revolutionize submarine logistics forever, allowing these vessels to stay at sea far longer without ever having to return to port for critical supplies. Alternatively, if the test failed, it would stand as proof that some military ideas, no matter how exciting they look in concept, are best left as impressive PowerPoint slides and nothing more. The aircraft's 4 powerful Pratt & Whitney F117PW 100 turbofan engines pushed the 412,000 pounds of aircraft, crew, and cargo into the dim pre-dawn sky. The mission parameters sounded straightforward on paper: fly 800 miles northwest across the open Pacific, locate and rendezvous with the ballistic missile submarine USS Henry M. Jackson, deliver the package from the air, and then return to base. However, the true challenge lay in the fact that their target was not on the surface, waiting for them, but had been submerged for 6 hours. During that time, it had maintained complete radio silence while drifting with the complex and ever-changing Pacific currents, moving miles from any previously predicted position. Locating this vessel was no trivial task. The search area was roughly the size of Russia, and the submarine's minimal surface signature made it a nearly invisible target in the immensity of the ocean. As the C-17 approached the area of the submarine's last known position, its ANAPS-133 maritime search radar swept the water ahead, scanning for up to 250 nautical miles in every direction. On the radar operator's screen, countless green blips appeared like digital rain, some representing wave returns, some floating debris, others schools of marine life, and somewhere among them perhaps the submarine itself. Distinguishing the faint, intermittent radar return of a submarine from the chaotic noise of the ocean was a skill only developed after years of experience in maritime search operations. Flying over the Pacific brought its own challenges. There were no navigational aids like VOR stations, no mountains or landmarks, no cities or coastlines, just endless, unchanging blue, identical whether one was 100 miles from Hawaii or 1,000. The flight management computer could calculate their position with GPS accuracy to within 30 feet, but that precision was meaningless when their target had been drifting unpredictably like an unmoored buoy for hours. The USS Henry M. Jackson's last known coordinates had been accurate as of midnight. Now she could be anywhere within a 50 square mile area. At 0730 hours, 400 miles from Hawaii and approaching the general search zone, the navigator finally received the submarine's first communication since diving. A burst transmission lasting only 1.3 seconds, just long enough to pass updated coordinates. It revealed that the submarine had drifted 4.2 nautical miles northeast of her original planned location. While not unusual for a vessel maintaining station without using engines, it was enough to render the crew's original approach plan useless. The C-17's crew recalculated their search pattern while the radar operator expanded his sweeps. The submarine's drift patterns had been intentionally randomized to prevent adversaries from predicting her movements, a tactic excellent for operational security but terrible for rendezvous planning. Meanwhile, in the cargo bay, the test package waited, secured by simple tie-down straps. Weighing exactly 50 pounds, it was wrapped in waterproof seals and fitted with a Type 4 personal flotation device, making it resemble a small box prepared for a tropical vacation. There was no GPS tracker, no electronic homing device, no sophisticated recovery system, only buoyant foam and the certainty that it would float. Finally, at 09:15 hours, the radar painted a weak but consistent contact precisely where the submarine had said she would be. The return signal would fade in and out as swells washed over the hull, then return stronger as the submarine adjusted her trim. The pilot banked the aircraft toward the contact and the crew began preparing for the unprecedented task of dropping a package to a moving submarine. At 09:25 hours, the descent began, what pilots charitably called an uncomfortable maneuver toward 500 feet above the water. At this altitude, the C-17's immense wings and fuselage no longer behaved like those of an aircraft. Instead, it wallowed like a massive aluminum whale, fighting against physics and the unpredictable effects of ground effect turbulence. The pilot reduced throttle, and immediately the aircraft responded sluggishly, like a dump truck forced into a Formula One race. Below, the submarine's black steel hull, no wider than a two-lane road, cut steadily through the swells. The submarine's crew constantly adjusted ballast tanks and trim systems to keep the vessel's deck level while avoiding any visible wake that could be detected from above. Meanwhile, a 7-meter rigid-hull inflatable boat with 4 sailors had been launched to recover the package. The coordination required between the aircraft, submarine, and small boat was immense. Every 30 seconds, the submarine provided updated heading and speed. The RIB relayed its position relative to both the submarine and the drop zone, and the C-17 calculated its approach to maintain the exact airspeed of 120 knots. Too fast, and the package would overshoot the recovery zone by hundreds of meters. Too slow, and the aircraft risked stalling over the open Pacific. The pilots conducted a practice pass, flying directly over the submarine to check timing and alignment. The loadmaster peered through a small window, watching the immense mass of the submarine glide beneath them. The sight made clear just how precise the drop would have to be. Miss by too much, and the package would be lost to the sea. Miss by too little, and they would strike the submarine itself. Now came the real run. Heading matched to 285 degrees, altitude locked at 500 feet, airspeed at exactly 120 knots. Every parameter held within impossibly narrow tolerances. The loadmaster counted down. 3, 2, 1, release. The package tumbled from the aircraft, falling for 5.57 seconds before striking the water. It splashed down 150 meters ahead and 1,000 meters to starboard of the submarine, close enough for the RIB to roar forward, recover it, and secure it aboard. The test was a success. The implications were profound. Ballistic missile submarines could now be resupplied anywhere in the world without returning to port, extending patrol durations and operational reach, and allowing them to remain hidden in hostile waters for as long as required. The most survivable leg of America's nuclear triad had just gained an entirely new capability, one that might reshape submarine warfare for decades to come.